welcome to the platform again. And don't forget, my name is Ogundipe Adekunle, and we're here to get together again to discuss a very important issue. We'll be talking on the topic today, multiple employment in Nigeria. And with me to discuss this topic is Barrister Sunday Adebayo. Welcome to the platform, sir. Can you introduce yourself to the public?
Alright, my name is I'm an Abuja-based lawyer, an associate of a law corridor. I'm a public consultant as well, and human rights lawyer.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Well, we are discussing the topic multiple employment. Can you shed a light on this topic, multiple employment? What do you have to say about that?
So when we talk about multiple employment, we are talking about an individual being engaged by different organizations or being a salary earner under two or more organizations. And in the Nigerian context, we may be talking about people having to be under salary employment of more than two offices, more than two institutions, more than two establishments. Say for instance now, if you are working with government and you are still working with private sector, that makes it a multiple employment. Anything that makes you to be under more than one employment at a time is multiple employment. And it's very, like you brought out the case study of a university lecturer, we have so many today, public institution lecturers who are lecturing at the university, and at the same time they engage in private practice, or they are also under the payroll of another law firm or another establishment as well. So anything that makes you to be under the employment of more than one organization or establishment at a time is actually what we refer to as multiple employment.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Sunday. And again, we like to look into the legal issues concerning as regard multiple employment. I want to believe the Code of Conduct talks about it, and the Constitution talks about it. Sir, what is the legal stand as concerning multiple employment in Nigeria?
Alright, generally multiple employment in Nigeria, we can discuss this under two different headways. Say for instance, the private sector on its own, and we can as well discuss the public sector as a different case. Now, if you are talking about a private sector, you may actually be dealing particularly with the rules of engagement in the private sector, because for instance, in the public sector, the Constitution has actually made it very express that if you are in the public sector, as a salary earner under the public sector, there are things you cannot engage yourself in. So that one is critically clear, expressly. But if you are in the private sector, before we can determine the legality or otherwise of it, it has to depend on the rules of engagement, whether the nature of engagement, the terms of employment permits you to do that. If the rules of engagement permit you to go ahead and engage yourself or being under the employment of another organization or establishment, that's fine. But for public sector particularly, once you are a public officer, the law forbids you from engaging or participating in the management or running of another business, trade or profession. So what that means is that as a public officer, you cannot engage yourself in the management or running of another business, another trade, another profession. So if you use the case of university as an example now, the implication is that once you are employed under the public service rules, once you are engaged and being a salary earner under the public service, you cannot at the same time while holding that employment involve yourself or be engaged by another institution. Okay. That's what it means. Okay. But then we may also want to make clarifications on whether that is actually legal or not, because it depends on the circumstance and it depends on the nature of it.
Some provisions of the law that actually talks about this.
Yes, provisions of the law that talks about it, and particularly for the public sector, like I mentioned earlier on. If you check part 1 of the 5th schedule, 2A and B, talks about, generally that schedule talks about the code of conduct for public officers. And particularly in that paragraph 2b talks about the fact that once you are a public officer, you cannot engage yourself, you cannot participate in the management or running of another profession, another trade or business. What that means is, but we must make something very clear here, except the Constitution puts express exception to farming. So as a public officer, whether you are in the public sector, at the judiciary, the state level or federal level, whatever, you are allowed to go and engage in farming. And that's why we have our former president, President Obasanjo, as while he was in the office, he post his farm. So you are generally, everybody, whether civil servants or not, you are entitled or you are free to engage yourself in farming. But for public officers, once you are a public officer within the meaning of the law, you cannot engage yourself in the managing or running of another business, trade or business. That's what the law says. Whoever does anything to the contrary is against the law, because the act itself has been prohibited. But I must make some clarification at this level. Look, we must take note of what the law intends to prevent. There are cases where the court has had to react to the provision of this fifth schedule, the paragraph 2b of the pattern of fifth schedule. But unfortunately, most of these instances, they are state high court matters, which though they are part of the forms of precedent, but then we all know how the weight of a precedent operates. There has never been a definite Supreme Court statement on this particular issue, which would have laid to rest whether the act itself is legal or illegal. Say for instance, in 2013, a Nigerian law school lecturer filed a process at the Court of Appeal on behalf of clients. But during the course of the proceeding at the appellate court, which eventually went to the Supreme Court, the court actually agreed that a Nigerian law school lecturer is a public officer. But then the Supreme Court avoided decision. The court had an opportunity to actually lay to rest this argument as to whether the public officer Nigerian law school actually practice or engage in other business. But then the Supreme Court unfortunately did not make any pronouncement on it. The reason because the matter was initiated at the state high court, and it went all the way to Supreme Court. But at the long run, the Supreme Court said that being a public officer, any complaint against the conduct of a public officer cannot be entertained by the state high court. It has to be code of conduct tribunal. So until even as it stands now, we are still waiting for a definite pronouncement, a fair pronouncement from the Supreme Court as to what is the position of the interpretation of that particular section, paragraph 2b of the fifth schedule. But I must say this, that a constant look at that provision makes it very clear that we are not being semantic. The Constitution used the word engage or participate in the management or running. Look, if you look at the management, running, they are synonymous. And the rules of interpretation in the legal profession, when we use the literal rules of interpretation, those words mean that you cannot engage in the management or the running. It's express. That's what you cannot do. But then, even if you use look at what the mischief the law wants to protect or prevent in that circumstance, we still agree with me that, look, the mischief the law wants to prevent is that we don't want a situation whereby there will be conflict of interest in public offices, where a public officer will put himself in a situation that will now conflict with his personal interest. And that's why the first paragraph of that fifth schedule talks about the conflict of interest. The paragraph A of the 2A, paragraph 2, that's paragraph 2A, also talks about double salary, double remuneration or emolument. And 2B also starts with the word unless or except you are not a full-time employee, meaning that if you are a part-time, you are free. Now, from that thing is also that practicing it is not what the Constitution intends to prohibit, but managing and running it to the detriment of the official work, official assignments. So that's why, as it stands today, I still maintain my position that look at public institution lecturers. You are free to practice your profession. You are free to practice in private sectors, but then you must not be at the helm of managing or running it to the detriment of the career. Because I have this kind of topic generates a lot of opinion, and we have several of my colleagues as well who host the opinion that okay, it is illegal. Take for instance, if you are talking about the university lecturer that you make mention to that time. My opinion is this: look, there's no any law that prohibits law lecturers, that prohibits university lecturers generally from participating or engaging in another business, private practice, for instance. There's no law that prohibits them. What the Constitution prohibits is the engaging, the managing and running of another business. Look, this is what it means. Like I may be a lawyer, I may be a university lecturer now, and also representing my client in the court. I'm permitted, I'm free to do that. But if I'm going to be a lecturer at the university, public institution, and at the same time I cannot go and establish a firm and still be the managing partner who will be running their affairs. What the law is trying to protect is this conflict of interest. Devotion and time commitment to your official work, so that you do not put yourself in a position whereby your personal interest will now conflict with your official duty. So we must make clarification as to that one. So, and the same thing applies to all the professions. Medical practitioners, I know in time past and to date, there have been a series of agitations as to whether medical practitioners, doctors, dentists can also do that. And my question is this: look, if you are medical practitioners engaged by public institution, you can as well practice, use your own official acts to do your private practice, but you cannot involve yourself in the managing or running of that business, because that will actually take your time, and you may not be committed to your official duty. So we must make that clarification.
Okay. It is necessary for us to hear some public opinions about this topic. Please stay tuned as we engage in that section.
My personal opinion on the issue of a public officer running other businesses still remains on the fact that you're occupying a public office. You running other businesses is going to have a clash of interest. Your attention won't be totally on your work.
If you consider the fact that what I was saying about working 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and you're going to be given your terms of employment, the condition of service is also regulated in, let's say, public service rules. You're expected to be at work from morning, from let's say 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. 4 p.m. is general closing time for public and civil service workers in Nigeria. Now, you're not expected to do any other thing. You're expected to have a dedication to work, give your all, even if you're unproductive. I mean, it's not new. We see people work in ministries. Right from when I was in secondary school, we used to hear of workers in the ministry who bring egusi to the office, who sell, they'll bring items. When they get to work, they'll just sign in the clocking, and then from that moment, they'll be going about. It's quite unfortunate that you can't merge jobs, even though ideally it's good that you have yourself dedicated to one job.
Welcome back to the platform, and don't forget we are still here with Barrister Sunday Adebayo. What do you think it could be solutions to this, or how can governments curb this act of multiple employment?
Alright, you see, looking at the way forward, we must also first and foremost look at the causes of this problem, because if you take the university lecturer, as we said, as a case study, legal practitioner, medical practitioner, and all of those things, engaging in other things. In the case of a legal practitioner, lawyers, it is actually a statutory duty. It is statutory permission. There's a statutory permission for lawyers to practice their oath, their trade, their profession. So if you are taking that away from them, then you may actually be acting against their own rights as well. So we must try to strike a balance between the two. The Constitution has already made it very express that what we intend to protect or prevent is the managing or the running. But now, if you now look at what are the possible solutions to this issue. Number one thing I will make mention of is this, that Nigeria must build a system that the individual can succeed in whatever they lay their hands on. And you don't have to combine too many things before you make it in Nigeria. And that's why you see today that life is becoming very difficult for average Nigerians, just because the economic system is not a sustainable one that you can actually try with one particular business. People intend to diversify their means of income, they engage in this, they engage in that, and that's because the system has not, we don't have a system that adequately compensates labor. Today, almost all the institutions are on strike. On account of what? On account of fighting for entitlement. And it's very sad. In the case of the university, now, we have lecturers in public institutions who are lecturers somewhere else, who are also into different practice. If you must stop all these things, see, I must be very proud of us. Nobody likes stress. Do you understand? Nobody wants to work 9, 10, 12 hours in a day. Everybody wants to be in a situation like we have overseas where you can work an hour or two and go to rest. Do you understand? But look, we must build a sustainable system that accommodates that kind of attitude. You are telling lecturers not to engage in the practice of other professions or trades, and you are paying them peanuts. You are owing them salary. So what do they feed on? How do they feed their family? And if they cannot provide for their family, we have children who will go out of control, and they become a threat to the security in the country as well. So this issue must be well looked at if we must find a solution. And that must start with adequate salary, adequate entitlement for the public officers. Today, if you look at the public sector, a lot of corrupt practices are going on. Not because many of them want to do it, but they were compelled by circumstances surrounding them. Today, if you find yourself in the public sector as new staff, if you are not very careful, your own seat may be far away from other people because there is a clique before you go to the systems that if you are, unless they observe you cleanly and they say that okay, this one can fall into the clique, they will not exclude the secret of office to you. So, and this is very rampant. But we must make things clear that at the price of striking a way forward, we must not infringe on people's rights. Government has made attempts in the past to say that okay, medical practitioners, they cannot be in the public service and they are still engaged in their own listing. And I've read the medical practitioners code, particularly the 2008 code. Okay. There's nothing unlawful, there's nothing illegal there. That's the truth. Medical practitioners, dentists, doctors, the legal practitioners, lawyers, they can as well go and practice their own profession. But look, while doing that, you must not put yourself in a position that will compete. That's what the law is trying to protect. And then there must be orientation for these public officers that we're talking about. Because so many times, they are not even aware of these policies. They are not aware of these laws until when the problem comes. I won't mention them, but recent when a political party was conducting their primaries in this country, we heard of a situation whereby one of the aspirants had to run to court, holding a very particular important office of the federation, had to run to court to go and seek whether they can hold that office and still contest. Meaning that at that moment, there is no proper orientation as to what guides his office. His code of conduct is not well explained to him. And it's holding a very important office. So proper orientation must be given to all these public officers as well. And while doing that, we must also take note of the fact that every system that we are building towards a way forward must be channeled vis-a-vis what our system as a country can accommodate. They didn't make a mistake when they particularly exempted farming, because that's our local business. And it thrives anywhere. There's nothing illegal about it.
And meanwhile, it's not even require your presence at all times.
At all time. So we must build a system whereby people can actually work as a public officer and have other business, and they may not even show up at those places of a business for months. And there's a system that allows them to engage some other person to do that on their behalf. They are not even involved in the management. They are not involved in the running. And that's why we have so many public officers today. They have farm. They don't have to go to farm. Of course, we know that most of our public officers they don't even know how to do all this things. But then they have farm, and they are draining their farm, and nothing is going wrong. So there must be a system that we actually make a balance between the service itself and other business. And to actually strike that balance, we must ensure adequate payment. I emphasize it. You see, today so many of our people who plow the roads on a daily basis, they become victim of public harassment from security outfits. Not because the security officer intends to harass them too, but an hungry man is an angry man. So you get a gun to a police officer who has not earned since morning, and whose wife actually harassed him because he could not drop anything before he left home in the morning. He probably will transfer the aggression on the street to anybody.
The Nigerian police force, most importantly.
So it's a system.
Yes.
According to what they play, it's not their own intention to act that way most times.
Yes.
It happens, it's just natural. Anybody can be victim of transfer of aggression. Anybody can find themselves in that circumstance. It happens to everybody. And that's because there's no passion in the job. And why there's no passion is because there is no motivation in the job. So we must try to strike a balance in all these things if you must look at way forward. But I emphasize, while looking for way forward, we don't look towards prohibiting certain trade or profession alone. Look, our focus should be on what is the rationale behind these laws. I said earlier that if you check the entire 5th schedule, talks about the Public Officers Code of Conduct, the major objective of that part is that we want to have a system whereby public officers can be accountable as to time and commitment and devotion to work. No conflict of interest. And that's why in paragraph 2b that particularly forbids them from engaging in other professions, say that unless you are not employed in full time. That means that if you are employed in part time, you are free. Then you now come to agree with me that what the law is trying to actually protect or prevent is not the engaging or participating in those things. No. It's in the managing or running that will likely take your time or take away your attention from official duty.
Alright, thank you to stay with us on this platform, and we look forward to seeing you more and more for more clarifications on the other issues. Thank you very much. Appreciate you staying with us at this time. Don't forget, we are always here. Please drop it on the comment section. We'll attend to it and we'll address it for you. Please don't forget, you can like our platforms to get more of these updates. On YouTube, Lawyer Plus, and on Facebook, Lawyer Plus. Don't forget, we are together. Thank you.